Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Into the Light with Mending Minds Village. I am your host, Caden, and today we've got a pretty special show for you. We're excited to bring in a special guest, somebody who has definitely had some experience in mental health and knows what it's like to be looking for greener pastures. We're excited to introduce to you today Terry Tucker, and Terry, we're excited to have you.
Well, Caden, thanks for having me on. I'm really looking forward to talking with you today.
Absolutely. So jumping in right here, why don't we talk a little bit about who you are and where you're based out of, and introduce the audience to you a little bit.
Sure, I'll give you sort of the Reader's Digest version of me. I am currently based in Denver, Colorado. I am the oldest of three boys. You can't tell this from looking at me or from my voice, but I'm 6'8" tall and actually went to college on a basketball scholarship despite having three knee surgeries in high school. When I graduated from college, I moved home to find a job. I'm really going to date myself now, but this is long before the internet was available to help people find employment. Fortunately, I found that first job in the corporate headquarters of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain,
Oh,
in their
wow.
marketing department. That was the good news. The bad news was I lived with my parents for the next 3.5 years, helping my mother care for my father and my grandmother, who were both dying of different forms of cancer.
Oh,
Professionally, as I said, started out at Wendy's, and then I went to work for the hospital that cared for my father and my grandmother. Then I made a major pivot in my life, became a police officer. Part of what I did during my law enforcement career was I was a SWAT Team Hostage Negotiator. After that, started a school security consulting business, coached girls high school basketball. But for the last 12 years now, I've been battling a rare form of cancer, a rare form of melanoma. And then finally, my wife and I have been married for 30 years. We have one child, a daughter, who's a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and is an officer in the new branch of the military, the Space Force.
oh, wow. That's it. That's not very often that you hear that. So that's actually very cool.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of her.
That's excellent. Well, thank her for her service for us. We
I'll do that.
definitely appreciate our service members. And so let's talk about that, because that's one of the topics that we definitely want to discuss today. Is Let's discuss the diagnosis that you were given, the acral lentiginous melanoma, and kind of introduce the general public to what that is. That's a very, very rare form of cancer.
It is. So I found out about it. I was coaching girls' high school basketball. We were living in Texas, and I had a callus break open on the bottom of my left foot, right below my third toe. And initially didn't think much of it because as a coach, you're on your feet a lot. But after a few weeks of it not healing, I went to see a podiatrist, a foot doctor friend of mine, and he took an x-ray and he said, Terry, I think you have a cyst in there and I can cut it out. And he did. And he showed it to me. It was just a little gelatin sac with some white fat in it, no dark spots, no blood, nothing that gave either one of us concern. But fortunately or unfortunately, he sent it off to pathology to have it looked at. And then 2 weeks later, I received the call from him. And as I mentioned, he was a friend. And the more difficulty he was having explaining what was going on, the more frightened I was becoming. And so finally, he just laid it out for me. He said, Terry, I've been a doctor for 25 years, and I have never seen the form of cancer you have. You have an incredibly rare form of melanoma. And most people think of melanoma as too much exposure to the sun. It affects the melon, the pigment in our skin. Mine has nothing to do with sun exposure. It's just a rare form that appears on the bottom of the feet or the palms of the hands.
And is this something that did you eventually develop symptoms from that, or walk us through that a little bit?
I really didn't, other than have the callus break open on the bottom of my foot, which was painful because it didn't heal, which is the
Right.
reason I went to have it checked out. And when I was diagnosed, I was told that if I got a miracle, I might live 5 years, but more than likely I would be dead in 2 years. And so I'm like, okay, you gave me a death sentence. Maybe I can turn that death sentence into a life sentence. And that's what
Right.
I've been trying to do for the last 12 years.
Well, and you're still here with us, and you look like you're in incredible health, and look like you're doing well, and so that's all miracles to medicine and also to the positivity of thinking. And
Absolutely. I mean, I've certainly had setbacks. I had my foot amputated in 2018. I had my leg amputated during the COVID pandemic in 2020. I still have tumors in my lungs, which I'm treated for every 3 weeks at the hospital. But I agree with you. There's a reason I'm still here. I really don't know what that reason is. I remember when I found out I was going to have my leg amputated and I had these tumors in my lungs, about 6 months later, my doctor showed me my CAT scan. And I have no medical background. I don't know how to read a CAT scan, but you can kind of look at it and say, well, boy, that sure doesn't look like it belongs there. And, I had these big tumors in my lungs. I had fluid all around the pleural spaces. And I remember looking at him and saying, how was I alive? And
right.
Caden, I'll never forget. He put his head down. He shook his head no. And then he lifted his head up and he looked at me and he said, I don't know because you shouldn't have been, which said to me, God's not done with me yet. When I die, where
Right.
I die, how I die, way above my pay grade. Spend more time worrying about the living.
That's right. And now, because of that, it looks like you've done quite a bit of work on, mental health advocacy and really looking into positivity and, making sure that people understand that there's far more to live for than what's happening in the present.
I have, and part of that was what I learned when I was a hostage crisis negotiator. Most of the people we were dealing with were having incredible mental breakdowns. I mean, let's face it, if your house is surrounded by the police and you're talking to me, you're probably having the worst day of your life. And
You're
so,
probably having a really bad day.
yeah, it's not gonna be a good day here. And that, so it was definitely things that, things I learned, but things I already knew from law enforcement and things like that. And I always tell people, and because we used to get this all the time, and per, stop me if I'm getting ahead of you, but one of the things we would tell people is, or we would interview them afterwards, and it's like, well, yeah, I knew that he was giving things away, or he was talking about dying, or he was doing certain things, but I didn't want to put the idea in his mind or her mind that, by suggesting, like, are you going to hurt yourself? Are you going to kill yourself? One of the things we did as negotiators is we put it right in your face. If we thought you were going to take your life, we would say to you, hey, Bob, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Are you thinking of killing yourself? Because if they're not, they're going to fire back on you with, no, you idiot, I'm not thinking of doing that. But if they are, you open that door
Right.
to, oh my God, somebody cares about me. Somebody's interested in hearing my story. So for the audience that's listening to us, if you think somebody might be going down that road, don't hesitate to ask them. Put it right out there in front of them. Because like I said, if they're not, they're going to say, no, I'm not at all. But if they are, you might be opening the door just to get them to kind of get it all out. And don't be surprised if they spill all this stuff out in front of you that, oh my God, I never expected that to happen. But
Yeah.
you're giving them that opportunity.
And those of you that are listening now, that this recording took place during the week, and so we had our latest episode released actually this morning, which was entitled "Suicide Prevention and How Do We Stop It." And that's exactly right. We talked about it in that episode, guys, and here you are listening to a negotiator who spent years identifying that in real life. And it's very powerful. I mean, you don't know who it's going to be next, and you don't know what your words are going to do to impact somebody.
You don't, but people give clues. Very
They
few
do.
people just go and do it. They give you clues, and if you're intuitive enough to pick up on those clues, like they're giving things away, or they're talking about death or killing themselves or other people that have done it, those are clues. Pick up
Right.
on those, and like I said, ask them, because all sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, people don't want to end their lives, but they have no other alternative. They see no other way out. By you just asking them, sometimes it's that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. We complicate life way too much.
Way too often.
Just ask them and let them talk. Just shut up. Just let them, just listen. That's all they're looking for you to do. They're not looking for you to solve their problems. They're just looking for someone to understand that they need to get this off their chest. So be that person.
No, that's perfect. And I could not have, we've not coordinated this,
No,
podcast. This is happening real time, you guys. So again, thank you so much for contributing that, because people, like we talked about in that last episode, people genuinely are looking for one person who can hear them, one person who can identify that they need help. And so often in society, just like you say, we tend to ignore the obvious, because either you're uncomfortable, you don't want to step up, you don't know how to help, or you just are being just blind, and you're not seeing what's right in front of you until hindsight happens, and then we realize that, okay, I actually was seeing that this whole time. And so we as people, we need to be paying more attention to those around us.
we
And
do. And younger people, especially, they're absorbed in their own lives. And I get that. There's a
yeah,
lot of things going on mentally, physically, emotionally with them. But just take a minute and step back and see, if behavior is out of the ordinary, take a look at that. What behavior is it? Is it something that I can just ask a question about? And that's, like I said, they're just looking, as you said, Caden, for somebody to care, for somebody to see them. These people feel that they're totally oblivious to the world. Nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody wants to help them. Be that one person. Be that one person that just steps up and asks the question. And as Caden said, you may be like, "Oh my God, I'm totally overwhelmed with this." That's okay.
that's okay.
Be overwhelmed. That's fine. Just be there for that person.
Absolutely. Well, let's shift gears just a little bit, because I know that we want to get into your book. You spent quite a bit of time, and you've written an amazing book called Sustainable Excellence: 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life. Let's jump into that a little bit, and what inspired you to write that, and what is the kind of overall message that you want to get out of that book?
Yeah, the book was really born out of two conversations that I had. I initially did not want to write a book. There's kind of an old joke that says when we talk to God, it's called prayer. When God talks to us, it's called schizophrenia. So God never told me to write a book or anything like that. But I think what God did for me was put enough people in my path that were making the same suggestion over and over. You should write a book. You should write a book. And I was kind of like, I don't want to write a book. I don't want to write a book. I don't want to write a book. And really, it got to a point where I had these two conversations. The first one was with a former player that I had coached in high school who had moved to the area in Colorado where my wife and I live with her fiance. And the four of us had dinner one night. And I remember saying to her after dinner that I was excited that she was living close and I could watch her find and live her purpose. And Caden, she got real quiet for a while. And then she looked at me and she said, "Well, coach, what do you think my purpose is?" And I said, "I have absolutely no idea what your purpose is, but that's what your life should be about. Finding the reason you were put on the face of this earth, because there is a reason, using your unique gifts and talents and living that reason." So that was one conversation. And then I had a young man reach out to me from college on social media, and he asked me what I thought were the most important things that he should learn, not to just be successful in his job or in business, but to be successful in life. And I didn't want to give him the, get up early, work hard, help
Work
others.
hard.
I didn't want to give him sort of the cliches that we all know. Wanted to see if I could go deeper with him. So I spent some time and took some notes and kind of had these 10 thoughts, these 10 ideas, these 10 principles. And so I sent them to him. And then I stepped back and I was like, well, I got a life story that fits underneath this principle, or I know somebody whose life emulates that principle. So, literally, during the months I was healing after I had my leg amputated, I sat down at the computer every day and I built stories, and they're real stories about real people underneath each of the principles. And that's how sustainable excellence came to be.
And it's an excellent read. If you have not read it, or if you've not heard about that book, you need to definitely go and grab a copy of that for yourself. Just a little bit of reading that I was able to do online. We're definitely going to order one, because there is some amazing words written in there, and there is some powerful messages.
Thank you.
And so if somebody would like to buy that book, where can they find it?
Pretty much anywhere you can get a book online, Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, Apple iBooks, anywhere you get a book online, you can get Sustainable Excellence.
All right. And then, you talk about sharing your story and sharing your messages with different different people throughout your life. Is that something that's come natural to you, or is that something that you kind of had to work up to?
Yeah, definitely something I had to work up to. I remember I started a speaking business just as COVID hit. And like so many other businesses or organizations, I had to figure a different way to deliver my service or to engage a different clientele. And somebody had reached out to me and said, "Would you like to be a guest on my podcast?" And I said, "Sure." What's a podcast? I had no idea what a podcast was. And they explained it to me, and I said, I'd be more than happy to do it. And I was so anxious. I was so nervous. I had post-it notes all around the camera, and they would ask me a question. I would kind of lean in and I'd read the post-it notes. I was horrible. I was terrible. I provided no value to the audience whatsoever. But then I thought back, well, the first time I drove a car, I was not very good at it. The first time I cooked a meal, I was not very good at it. First time I studied algebra, I was not very good at it. We're usually not. I mean, some people are born like, I know what I'm doing and I'm great at it. And
Right.
I have the skills. I was not one of those people. So I had to develop this. And I remember I was talking with my publisher and I said, "Scott, I listen to every podcast I've been on. And I've probably been on 700 podcasts all around the world. And I said, I want to have better stories. I want to see how many times I use or huh or whatever. I
Yeah.
just want to be better." And he said, no, Terry. He said, "It's not about being good. It's just about not sucking." And I said, "Well, thanks for the title of my next book,
That helps.
Just Don't Suck." But I said, "No, that's not what it's about. I want to be good at being a podcast guest. I want the host to feel this was time well spent, and I want the audience to feel that they got some value out of it." So just like anything else, I mean, when I started playing basketball, I wasn't very good at it. But the more you practice, the more you work at it, the more you enjoy the grind of whatever you're doing, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. And and some of our audience is definitely in the younger generations. And so they there's been this stigma for a lot of years where kids today need to be the best at everything right now. What message would you relay to those kids to just kind of slow down and take some time to develop and be their true self?
Yeah, be a kid. Enjoy life. I mean, my brother is the president of a large Catholic high school in Chicago, and they're very well rounded. I mean, they're good in athletics, they're good in academics, they're good in theater and the arts and things like that. And so they have kids that are recruited for very high levels. And he's telling me the story one time about Brian Kelly, who was the football coach at the University of Notre Dame, a well
Yeah.
respected organization. He's now at LSU, but he was recruiting one of the tight ends that my brother's school, and this guy also played basketball. And he asked Coach Kelly, he said, "Yes, I'm coming to Notre Dame. I commit to play football at Notre Dame, but I want to play basketball too. Can I do that, Coach?" And Kelly's like, "Absolutely, you can do that. Be a kid. Enjoy your time in school." I mean, so many kids think, they need to be mini adults. You're not mini adults. Your prefrontal cortex, the area of your brain behind your forehead, doesn't fully develop until your mid to late 20s. So
Right.
you don't know things. You're being guided by a brain that's not fully developed yet. So don't think you have to be mini adults. You don't. Find things that you enjoy and practice those. Get involved in those. You like the arts. Get involved in the theater group. You like the band. Get involved in the band. Do things that you enjoy. We all have unique gifts and talents. Figure
Right.
out what those are in your life and use those for your benefit. Life shouldn't be a drudgery. You should enjoy your life. There should be some fun times. So don't ever think that you have to be excellent at everything. I've never met that person yet, and I'm well into my 60s, so I'm not sure that person exists.
Yeah, I don't think it does either. And it always baffles me in conversations with clients about, I just don't understand what's wrong with me. I don't understand why, I need to be this way. And I, we have to sit them down and explain to them that this is the society that we live in, and this is the conversation that we're trying to change. It's the
Absolutely. And
it's the
and the other thing I would
process of
say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good. But it's just that process of readjusting society to normal, if we can call it normal.
Yeah, and how do you learn? I mean, why do we practice basketball? Because we want to make the mistakes in practice and hopefully avoid them in the game. So
Right.
if you use that philosophy, I would tell young people to fail often,
Right.
especially when you're young. Get out there, make mistakes, mess up. That's okay. But don't just make mistakes for the sake of mistakes. Make mistakes for the sake of learning.
Right.
What did you learn from that? Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, used to have a great quote. He said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. So learn
Right.
from your mistakes. If you learn from your mistakes, you may lose, but you won't be a loser. Losers are people that make mistakes over and over and over again and never learn from them. So learn from those mistakes and then apply them as you grow and develop in whatever field or facet that you enjoy in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And and there you have a quote on your website that's very similar to that that really kind of took me by surprise, and it's something that I think people should definitely hear, that says everyone sees what you appear to be, but you experience what you really are. And where did you find that, and kind of why did that speak to you?
I have people send me quotes from all over. So I don't honestly remember where I found it. Somebody sent it to me, and it speaks to me because there's the real us, and then there's the fake us.
Yeah.
And the fake us we try to put out there to make it seem like I'm great, everything's wonderful, life is perfect. I got news for you. Life is not perfect. There's no such thing as the perfect marriage, the perfect family, the perfect job, the perfect relationship. There's no such thing as perfect in life. We're constantly evolving, we're constantly growing, we're constantly developing. And when you put two people together or more people together, whether it's a team or whatever it ends up being, you have to deal with the personalities. It's great if you can show the world your private self, but we are so guarded. We are so I don't want anybody to see the real me because I'm not
Right.
perfect.
Right.
That's okay. It's
It's
okay not
okay.
to be perfect. It's okay to mess up. You're going to do that. I'm 64 years old. I still make mistakes, believe it or not. I mean, there are things
You
that
mean
I
you're
am not.
not perfect at 64?
Believe it or not. You know what? Maybe 10 more years, maybe I'll get there. But not even close. It's
Yeah.
okay to show your true and honest self. Podcasts like yours are good because they're authentic. Because
Right.
people come on and say, you know what? I don't have all the answers, but I
Right.
have some answers, and I'd like to share them with you.
Yep.
It's the giving of yourself, and I'll end with this story. I'm sure you know or have heard of Mr. Rogers. Fred
Yes.
Rogers on his
Yes.
television show educated so many young people, including me, growing up. When Fred Rogers died in 2003, his family was going through his effects, and they found his wallet. And inside his wallet was a scrap piece of paper on which Mr. Rogers had written four simple words: Life is for service. So use your life in service of others, and I promise you, it will be an amazing life.
It will be. And and you've definitely exemplified that in everything that you are, and in your fight, in your battles to get through this cancer. We were extremely excited when we got the response that you would be on the show with us, because everything about your story speaks volumes on the power of positivity, on the power of looking forward. If you've got nothing to get through the next week, look at today, fight through today, and then let's readdress it tomorrow, and we can do it again tomorrow. But take it minute by minute if you need to, but just keep going. No matter what, your story doesn't end here.
No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have peaks and valleys in your life. And we measure our life by those peaks and valleys. I graduated, I got married, I had a birth of a child. Those are peaks. You remember those things. And then the valleys, I got let go from my job. I got an illness. I got in a car accident. You remember those valleys.
Right.
But where life is won and lost is in the middle. It's in the everyday grind that you put in the effort when you don't have to. I don't have to do these things. I tell the story a lot of times when I go for treatments. Is it which handle am I going to grab that day? The handle of I have to go to treatment or the handle I get to go to treatment? What if you grabbed your life that way every day? I get up in the morning. Do I have to go to school or do I get to go to school? Do I have to go to work or do I get to go to work? Do I have to interact with this person or do I get to interact with this person? It's just a different way of looking at life. And when you're faced with a chronic or a terminal illness, people have asked me, I was a college athlete. I was on the SWAT team. I've done physical things in my life. Now I'm in a wheelchair and I don't have a left leg. How do you balance that? And what I always tell them is when you can't do what you're good at anymore, you do what's important in life. And
Right.
that's what I feel I'm doing now. Things that are important. Nobody cares about how many basketball games I won or anything like that. I mean, maybe in law enforcement, did I help some people? Did I save some lives? Yeah, maybe I did. But at the end of the day, today, it's what did I do to make a positive difference in the life of another person? Caden, I always feel that so many people feel that they're born empty and that
Yeah.
when they get out of school and they get into life, whatever that looks like for them, that then their job is to fill their empty selves up, that they need to get a great education and get a great job and make a lot of money and drive the nicest car and live in the nicest house and have the latest gadgets. But what I found is it's just the opposite. We're not born empty. We're all born full with everything we need inside of us to be successful, whatever that looks like for you. So you just need to find it, pull it out, and use it for your benefit. So your life should not be about what you get. Your life should be about pouring yourself out with your unique gifts and talents, certainly for the betterment of yourself, but also for the betterment of your family, of your friends, of your community, of your country. If you look at life not what's in it for me, but what I can give to other people, like I said, you will have an amazing life because you will attract people that will want to be around you. So look at your life not, and I get it as kids, we want to be part of the group. We want to have all the cool stuff. I get that. You want to be part of something. But understand that in life, it's about being part of something that's bigger than you.
Right.
I learned that in athletics. And whether you didn't do your job on a team, you not only do you let yourself down, but you let your teammates down, your coaches down, your fans down. And if you think about it, the biggest team game that we all play is this game of life.
It is. It is. Well, Terry, we appreciate you coming on the show with us today. I'm so amazed at the story of your life and how, you continue to exemplify everything that life should be every single day. And we can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us. And hopefully we've got some audience that will take some time to really reevaluate their life, and hopefully our message today gives them the reason to do that, gives them a little bit of hope to reach out.
Well,
So
Kate, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed talking with you.
it was great to have you, sir. We appreciate you, and maybe we'll have you back one of these days. That'd be
I would
great.
love that.
All right, thank you, sir. And we'll let you go and have your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wow, guys, what an amazing message. What a strong, powerful message from somebody who is going through it and who has been through it. I mean, Terry, like he said, is still a cancer survivor. He is still actively going through treatments, and he has been a phenomenal uh, influence in life for a lot of people. Uh, Thank you so much for listening into the podcast today and for supporting Many Minds Village. We appreciate you being here very much, and we can't tell you possibly how much you mean to us and our organization. Let's talk about, like we do every week, We've got some upcoming events that we want to cue you in on, and we want to make sure that you know how to find our information. So we have talked in the past and want to, for new listeners, Mending Minds Village is an advocate for juvenile mental health treatment and resources, as well as suicide prevention. So if you are in need, if you know of anybody that's in need of any advocacy for your mental health, to get into suicide prevention programs, anything like that, you can always reach out to Mending Minds Village, when we are happy to help you get what you need and make sure that you are taken care of, make sure that you are stable. If you are in need of any of our services, or if you want to recommend anybody for our services, you can find us at mendingmindsvillage.org, or by simply picking up the phone and calling us at 801-259-3312. You can also send us a text to that number. That is a mobile phone, and we'll be able to respond to you by text if that's easier. We will always do everything in our power to change your situation. We'll do what it takes to make sure that your voice is heard and that you feel like your day matters and that your life matters. If you have any questions on that, know from us that you will always have a friend at Mending Minds Village, that we will always be there to help support you and take care of your needs. We do have some upcoming events that we would love for you to participate in and get to know Mending Minds Village that way. We do have a fundraising event for Mending Minds Village. This is the largest fundraising event that we'll have of the year. It is virtual this year. It is on March 1st. It is going to be at 7 p.m. The link for it can be found on our website at mendingmindsvillage.org, or you can find it on any of our social medias. We do have an event on Facebook for this event, and we're going to be auctioning off some gift certificates to Elite Island Resort, which is an all-inclusive resort vacation for you and your family, to places like Antigua and Panama and the Bahamas. They were gracious enough to donate those certificates for our supporters to help raise funds for suicide prevention and awareness. We also have gift certificates from Let's Roam, which is a scavenger hunt that they have offered gift certificates for their events as well. Those are sent to your location. They give you everything that you need for it. It's all inclusive. You can look for more information on the website for that. We're also going to have some shirts that we're going to auction off. We're hoping to get some bracelets here by then. And we're going to play some games and get to know you kind of stuff and have some great conversation. You can join us on that link on the website or on Facebook at Mending Minds Village. And we're going to talk about that more in the coming next couple of weeks to really make sure we drive home our viewership on that. That is a big event that's going to help take care of so many families right now that are in need of assistance with suicide and suicide prevention. On June 14th of this year, we are going to have our Walk for Life community walk event at Morgan High School here in Morgan, Utah. This event is going to be a massive turnout. We have, I think we originally talked about that we were expecting about 250 people. We're now talking nearly 2,500 people, which is amazing. We're super, super honored and excited about that event. We are looking for sponsors. So if you're interested in sponsoring a large suicide prevention event in Morgan, Utah, that is going to get some press coverage, and it is the largest and first ever suicide prevention walk program in Morgan County, Utah, please reach out to us on the website at mendingmindsvillage.org or on any of our social media sites. A press release has been dropped for this event. You can find it on ABC, on the Associated Press, or really any of your local news stations just by searching Into the Light, Into the Light. You can search on Google and you will find us there. But for this event, you can search us on all of the news sites and looking at Walk for Life Community Walk, and you should be able to find that press release with more information. Any of the news stories that also get released and the press conferences and things like that that are going to be held, we'll share those on our Facebook page and as well as the website. We are still finalizing the details for the Morgan County Suicide Prevention Peer Support Group. We're hoping in the next about week we will have that finalized, and then we'll begin that group here in Morgan. So we'll announce the date of that once it is started. And we will be hanging up flyers in the area for that group. So if you are in Weber County, Summit County, Morgan County, or if you come up to this area, and you would like to participate in that group, be looking for those flyers, or you can always reach out to us for more information. We are always looking for more guests on the podcast. We would like to have anybody who is a professional in the field, who has experience or is an advocate in the field of mental health and of suicide prevention, and any kind of advocacy. We're looking for all kinds of guests that want to come and talk on how their program works and introduce the world to your information. So if you know anybody that would like to be a guest or that would like to participate, they can always reach out to us at info@mendingmindsvillage.org or on any of our social media pages there as well. And we will be putting together those shows as they come in. Right now, we're booking through about mid-April. Thank you so much for your unwavering support of Mending Minds Village and for being there for the juveniles that are in need. We had a great day yesterday at the Utah State Capitol, where the Utah House of Representatives Judiciary Committee voted unanimously to approve House Bill 272, the Child Amendments Bill, also known as Ohm's Law, and it was sent to the House floor, where it is expected to be voted on today and passed over to the Senate. We're following that bill very closely because we want to protect our children in the state of Utah, and we will not stop until we know that every child is safe. Thank you to those who show up. For those of you who have sponsored, we want to give another great shout out to First National Bank, First Community Bank of Utah, who is a big supporter of Mending Minds Village, and they've been working with us side by side to make this event massive. We also want to thank Shirts to a T for their recent sponsorship of the event coming up and their willingness to help us put together our merchandise. And we want to thank Elite Island Resorts again for their gift certificates and being willing to sponsor juvenile mental health research and advocacy and making a difference in our children's lives. Thank you for joining us again, guys. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate your support and how much each and every one of you means to us. Please continue to live another day. Continue to make that step forward. And if you ever feel like there's a time that you cannot, I want you to please reach out to us and know that if nothing else, we will be here to hear your story and your voice. Thank you for being here. This has been another great episode of Into the Light with Mending Minds Village. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you so much.